Okay, last time we learned and or. Today we'll see how to apply that with the if function that we did last semester. If you remember the if function. Before we do that, you will have to remember how to do NPV and IRR from last class or last semester. If not, you can take a look at the video when you practice. So just make a note, recall NPV and IRR from last semester. That was the last topic that we did last semester.
What was the topic, Department?
NPV and IRR. It's the net present value.
Oh, yes.
And the internal rate of return.
Yes.
So just recall that from last semester. When you practice, you can take a look at the video if you don't remember. But this is the question now. So you can write the question if you want. You have 3 investments. And you have calculated the NPV and IRR for all of them. And your requirement is that if the NPV is bigger than 70 and the IRR bigger than 16.5%, you should invest in that investment. And if not, you should not.
So if the NPV is
bigger than 70,
you can invest.
and if the IRR is bigger than 16.5%. So if it satisfies both the conditions, only then you should invest. Here we have 3 examples, but it could be like hundreds of investments. Okay, so let's see how to do that. So first what you want to do is bring these copies over here. So what do? You just press equals and click on the value here. So the value will come down there. Similarly here. Similarly to all of the others. So this is option 1, this is option 2. And this is option 3. Okay, now in this cell, you should write a formula which tells you whether you should invest or no. So you have to use if and together. So let's see how to do that. You start with equals if. Open a bracket. And put and in it. You put and because you want both the conditions to be satisfied. And open another bracket. So any guesses? What should go here? You want the NPV to be bigger than? So you say, is my NPV bigger than 70? It's checking that. And you put a comma. That is the first condition. Now what is the second condition? The IRR needs to be bigger than 16.5%. I'll zoom in once I write the formula. Close the bracket and put a comma.
What goes in logical 2?
Logical 2 is your second condition, which is the IRR, which is this value. Is it bigger than 16.5%? Because that's what you want to check as well. Make sense? And close the bracket. So remember, when both of the conditions should be satisfied, you have to use and. When any one of them needs to be satisfied, you have to use or. Just make a note about that. If both conditions should be satisfied, you should use and inside if. And if any one of them needs to be satisfied, you should use or inside if. When you practice, you should do or as well. And then put a comma. Okay, if both of this are satisfied, what should be the answer?
Invest.
Invest. So you click on invest. Put a comma. And if that doesn't happen, what should you do? Not invest.
Reject. Yeah.
If I press enter, what should be the outcome here? Invest or not invest? Not invest. Make sense? Now, can I drag this down? Before we do that, do you need to fix anything? Do we need to fix the B23? Hold on, let me zoom in. Do I need to fix the B23? Yes or no? When I scroll down, does this need to go there? Yes, so you don't have to fix it. It needs to move. Does this need to move? Yes, so you don't fix it. Does this need to move? So you have to fix this. Does everyone remember how to fix things? You press F4 on your keyboard. And do I need to fix this? Yes. And now I can check if it's working. Is that right?
Yep.
Because it does not satisfy both of them. So it's working. So this is how you use if and and together to decide on if two things satisfy together. Yeah.
Before the after you close the bracket on 16.5%,
Yeah.
you put comma. What comes after? What comes after else when like what's the SL thing? When you
What is the?
does it say SL?
No, we are fixing it, so it's a dollar symbol.
Is it because you fixed it?
That's right. When you
before
fix,
you fixed it, it was just L22.
it was just L22. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? When you practice, you should also practice for or. So you do and or together, two separate tables.
What's F4 on a Mac?
You press function and F4.
This one. Are we gonna have a song so we can practice?
Yeah, I'll give you this in a bit when we finish. Yeah, I'll give you this file. For now, just write it down, then you can practice. But you'll have to recall this and then do that, okay? So first you have to find these values. Okay, now here's a question. If suppose the first investment value changes, will the answer change over here? So for example, if the first guy tells you that I'll give you an additional 100 here, so it makes it 1055. So it says I'll give you 1055 instead as your final profit. This should change at the bottom, only then you're doing it correct. The value changed, but the IRR did not change. So still it's no investment. But let's try this one. Is it becoming, say it gives you another 700 or so? did. Just make a note, everything needs to be connected. If you change one value, your answer should change whether you want to invest or no. And then you can do conditional formatting. Who remembers conditional formatting? You can say always highlight the word that contains invest. Or they both can need. How do you do this? You do, let's see if this works. It doesn't. So let's do not invest so we can know which one not to invest in. So if the values change, so for example, if this becomes 300 again, it should automatically flash saying you that this should not be invested in. Yeah, makes sense? Any questions before we move on to the next one?
So can you just say the question again? You have three investments, and then the next thing I have, if the NPV is bigger than 70, what was between if you have three investments? What was the
So if you have three investments and you've calculated the NPV and IRR for each, and this is your requirement, that NPV needs to be bigger than 70 and IRR bigger than 16.5%, then you should invest.
Would you mind to click on the first formula again? I just would like to know. Okay, thank you. So it's just. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's do the next formula. It will be called offset.
Is that with double F or this one?
Double F, yeah, double F. So let's see what it does first, then we'll try to apply it into another formula. So you have to do equals offset and open a bracket. Then you give a cell where you have to start counting from. So say I want to start counting from here. Then you put a comma. And then you say, how many rows should my cursor move? So for example, if I want to jump from here to here, or let's do row first. If I want to jump from here to here, if I want to jump from here to here, how many rows should I move? 3. So if that was the case, you would put 3 here. You want your cursor to move from that position to that position. Then you put another comma. And then you say, suppose I want to move here. How many columns do you have to move from that position then if I want to move here? So you put 1 there.
So where do you move from?
Say it again.
Where do you want to move from? The one?
Say first you move 3 positions down.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to move here, you say 1 position to the right. So you put 1 there. If you go left, you put -1. For now, I want to move from this point to say this point here. I want to move from here to here. How many rows do I need to move? No, from here to here. We're not moving any rows.
Oh, rows, no, 0 yet.
And how many columns did we move? 2. And if you close and press enter, it should give you. Let's check. They both are 123. Which one is correct? Okay, so if you say 2 here, it goes 1 and 2 and gives you that.
So wait, that what's the objective of using that formula to like change?
We'll do that. We have to put this into another formula to see what is the main use of this.
So like the positions you want to move, so if you're going down, there's a row, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're going down. You're going down as well. And then if you're going sideways instead of columns?
Yeah. Sideways is column, up, down is rows. The first is row, the second is columns. And the first one is what position do you want to start from? Make sense?
Oh yeah, so D6, what position do you want to start from? And then you then did 0.
It means you do not move any rows.
Okay, so no rows, but you went down. Okay, and then sideways.
2 sideways.
Columns. Ah. Oh, okay.
Okay, if I put 4 here, what do you think should be the answer? No, 4 I put. 11, right? It moves 4 positions to the right and 0 positions down.
Oh, so the first cell that we use is just like a reference to start counting.
That's right. That's the reference point where you want to start counting from.
So the number doesn't affect.
No.
It's just the reference to start.
That's
counting.
right. But that's a good point. We'll see how that affects when we put it into another formula. Does it make sense? The use of offset, very important. Or what does it give you? It gives you the number at a particular position you tell it to give you. So now let's see how to put offset into the sum function. Okay, so you say equal sum. And say I want to start here, right? It could be anything, but just for now, I want to start here. And put a semicolon. And then put the offset function. Okay, you say for the offset, I want to start here. We'll try and understand what it does when you get to see the answer. Then say go 0 positions in terms of the rows. And click on this cell as your column number. I'll tell you why this is useful. This cell. And fix that cell. Just in case if you have a lot of rows, you want to drag it down. And put -1 here. We'll see what's going on when we see the answer. Close and close. Okay, if I press enter, it's giving me 123 because that's your starting position. But if in this cell I put 2, we'll see what it is again. Let's see, let's put 2. What do you think that is? Any guesses?
Given answers.
Yeah, what answers is it giving you?
T-cylinder.
What?
T-cylinder.
But what is that answer of?
The 2 months. 2 total cells of 2 months.
Yeah, well done. So what it's really giving you is this plus this. Because you put 2 here, it's adding for the first 2 months. Right? So this is making the sum formula dynamic. If you want the sum for the first 4 months, all you have to do is press 4.
Does it always have to be like in E3? Like, can it be in C or D? Or does it always have to be in E column?
No, it could be anywhere.
Okay, it could be
The reference point could be anywhere.
okay.
This is
So
just,
as long as it's in line with some.
no, it doesn't matter. It could be anywhere.
Could you revert back to the formula, please?
Yeah, but let's see. Does that make sense? What's going on? Right? So if you want the whole thing, you just press 5 and it gives you the whole sum. So just look at the formula. Right. So like you said, when this was 0, it was only giving you that. So when you put -1 here, it goes till, so for example, if I give you 5 here, it goes till the 4th position. And that's still there. Because 0 was counting that. So 5 gives you the first 5. Only if you put a -1. If you had nothing there, it would give you the first 6. So to get the correct answer, you put a -1 there.
So, okay, so minus one needs to start counting
From itself, yeah.
Okay.
And go. So start counting from here itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's 0 from February, right?
Yeah. If it's 0, it'll give you here. If this was 0. Okay, similarly, you can put this in the average formula. Say you want to get the average for the first 3 months only or the first 4 months only. So you do it the same way. Equals average. And do the same thing. Give your starting position. You always start from the beginning of the month or wherever you want to. If you want to calculate from April, you start at April if it's a financial year. And you offset, you put a semicolon, okay, not a comma, you put a semicolon. And you offset your formula. You say start here. Don't change the rows. Choose the column from in here because I want to make it dynamic and fix it. And do -1, close, and close. So this is giving you the average for the first 5 months. If I just do 2, let's see if it's right. Just the first 2. It is right. Make sense?
Right, But if you do the first two, do you still do the -1 instead of the first?
Yeah. Because if you put 2 here, if you don't put a -1, it'll give you the first 3. But you only want the first 2 to count from where it is. Okay, when you do the practice, you will have to put the total sales like that, or the sum like that, average like that. Put the sum formula here, put the average formula here. When you do the practice, the quiz practice, and then you'll have to drag this down and drag this down. Okay, when you read it, you'll see, but just make a note. When you do this quiz practice, the sum and average, the formula should be below that, or we'll see when you practice if you don't get it. Does that make sense? Okay, let's do one more for today. It'll be called choose. Okay, this question is called scenario analysis. Okay, write down the question is, you are selling a certain number of products. You know the cost for it, the revenue for it, and the profit for it. And you have to predict the cost, revenue, and profit. And these are the possible percentages by which your profit or revenue or cost can increase. So there is no one single answer. There are many possibilities. And the question is, write a formula here so that when you change the value here, automatically the percentage should change, and calculate your that cost. Does that make any sense? There are many possibilities. If you change a number, it should go to the next possibility, or the next possibility, and so on. So first, let's see how does choose work. So you have to do equals, choose, and open a bracket. The first thing is you give an index number. It means you give what number to choose. That is the index number. And let's do it for cost. And then you give all the options for the cost. So you say these are the options. It's this one, comma this one, comma this one, comma this one. So first you give which option to pick, and then you put the commas and give all the rest of the options. Close the bracket. If there were more options, you would give all of them. Okay, right now it's giving me value because there is no number here. If I give 3 here, what do you think should be the answer? Now let's put 2 here. If I put 2 here, any guesses what the answer should be here?
If you
here. Let's do it. So if I put 2 here, and you make this into a percentage. So what is it telling you? In your cost, the second option is 4%. If you change this to 4, it says your fourth option is 6%. Make sense? Your third option is 3%. Your first option is. So now let's see how to use this to calculate the predicted cost. So you say equals choose. This is your index number. And give all the options. Or did we miss one? Yeah. Okay, if I tell you that your cost is going to increase by, say, 3% next year, what should be the formula? If I tell you your cost is going to increase by 3% next year, say you have $100 cost this year, and I tell you it's going to increase 3% next year, what is the new value? Hmm? Yeah, but what is the new value of your cost? What? If your cost is 100, and if I tell you it's going to increase by 3% next year, 103, right? You calculate the 3% and add it to the 100. So you do the same thing. You multiply this to your actual cost and add it to itself. And press enter. So if there is a 2% increase, your cost is predicted to be this much. If you say, oh, I think the third option is going to be the correct one, so all you have to do is press 3 here, and it should tell you the next thing, what could be that increase.
So you know, after the cost increase, what do you put after? You close the bracket and then you put the star. So or you just say A8 plus A8.
Yeah, you multiply it to A8 and then add it to A8. It's like you find 3% of 100,
Yeah.
which is 3,
Yeah.
and add it to 100.
Okay, so
That makes it 103. So here's a question. Can I drag this down for all my products? Before you do that, you have to fix them all because they all have fixed. When you drag, no one should move except the A8. Enter and drag it down. So if you decide that, oh, it's going to increase by option 2, all you do is change this to 2 and the whole thing changes. Okay, let's do it for revenue the same way. You say choose. This is the box for revenue, right? Because that could be another option for revenue. It may not be the same options. And give all the options for revenue. multiply it to the revenue, not A8, now B8, because B8 is revenue, and add it to itself. Make sense? And before you can drag it, you have to fix it. Why is this a value? Because there's no value here. Right, you can make this into a better format. Right, don't make this mistake. If this is dollar, this has to be dollar. Okay? Drag it down. Is that making any sense on what's going on? And how do you calculate the profit? What is the formula for the profit? It's always revenue minus cost. So if the research team tells you that we are predicting option 2 for revenue and option 4 for cost, all you have to do is make this 2 and make this 4, and your new predicted profit is right there.
So you know, so with profit, do you say equals profit first, or do you just say?
Revenue minus cost.
So why did you say equals profit? Or can you say equals profit?
You mean this profit?
Yeah. So no, so predicted profit, right? So with everything we've done, we start off with equals something.
Yeah.
So why is it with
The profit always depends on revenue and cost, not on the previous profit.
okay, so it's just like that, one of that.
Yeah. Okay, then what you can do is, which one of them is giving me the best possibility? So you can try them all. 1, 2. If this happens, that'll be my average profit for the year. If 1, 3 happens, that will be my average profit. Okay, so you have to calculate all possible options and then tell your manager that we will be in the best position if these two options happen, or we'll be in the worst position if these two happen. Right, does that make sense? Any questions before you practice?
Can we do the average one again?
Right, all you have to do is the average of your profits.
Thank you.
Right, go to Blackboard and see if you can